We'll give just another moment and then we'll go ahead and go live.
There's Harry Houdini too. Hi, Harry. He's waving.
Pauline has impressive plans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, this.
No. Yeah.
Those of you who are outside, you're all set because you can just pour on the grass.
Audrey's prepared for the stuff.
Yeah, she senses it.
She sure does. She may be the best weather barometer we have in the house.
Quarter of an inch is where the storm's breaking up.
Hi, Linda.
This is America.
All right. Well, welcome one and all to our Water Communion Sunday. This is the Sunday traditionally where we come together after a summer when we may have been away or apart. I suspect this summer most of us were not physically away, but since we have been in spirit for so many weeks, it may feel that way anyhow. And so this is service and the time when we traditionally spend a little bit of time reaffirming our connections to one another, reaffirming the joining together of our community. So welcome and thank you for our Water Communion Sunday. I'll invite you to mute yourself at this time. I'll go ahead and do a mute all for you. And you will have opportunities in the chat and again in coffee hour to greet and speak with one another.
Why aren't I muted?
I don't know, maybe you're special. Mute
Well,
yourself.
that, yeah.
There we go. Now you. And our opening hymn is Mysterious Presence, Source of All. It's one that I have not used in a while and you may not be super familiar with, but it's sung by Jess Wedeman, who is a Unitarian Universalist music director. It's number 92 in our hymnal, and I'll add lyrics in our chat bar.
Mysterious presence, source of all, the world without, the soul within, the fount of life, oh, hear our call, and pour thy living waters in. Thou breathest in the rushing wind, thy spirit stirs in leaf and flower, nor heavens clear, awoke the psalmist's trembling lyre, and touched the lips of holy seer with flame from thine own altar fire. That touch divine again impart, still give the prophet's burning word, and vocal in each waiting heart let living songs of praise be heard.
Welcome, one and all. Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Indiana, Pennsylvania. I am the Reverend Elizabeth Mount, and I'm so happy to be welcoming you here to our online space. On behalf of the congregation, I thank you for joining. And if you're joining us for the first time, we hope that you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily content. There are guided meditations, poetry, stories for all ages, even songs. Just search for Pastor Elizabeth Mount on YouTube to find our channel, where we broadcast our simultaneous Sunday morning worship services here on Zoom as well as YouTube. For those of you who are joining us on Zoom for an interactive experience, I invite you to leave your cameras on if you're comfortable. For many of us, seeing one another's faces is part of how we feel connected in community on Sundays. So if you're comfortable doing so and you have the bandwidth, please do leave your video on. In Zoom, you'll also see a little speech bubble in the middle of your toolbar. It's just below the video screen here, and it's labeled chat. You can use that for greetings, for joys and concerns, and for our chalice lighting during the service. The First Unitarian Universalist Church of Indiana, Pennsylvania is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We're self-governing congregations united in a web of mutuality that creates our denomination. We have neither creed nor doctrine, but rather we teach that all individuals have the right and responsibility to discern and follow their spiritual paths. We come together to support and assist each other on our personal journeys and to build the beloved community together. I invite you as well to stay after the service for conversation. I'll open up the mics at coffee hour following the service so that you can check in about what's on your heart and your mind. After the service, from noon until 3 p.m., here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Indiana, Pennsylvania, you can come and bring your water from water communion. If you would like to mingle it in our common bowl, you are invited to do so. It's a ritual that we usually do during the service each year. Now, as we are online, the ritual we will be doing will be symbolic. But if you wish to bring your water, to join it in the common waters that all of us pour into each year with water from previous years and the water that you bring, you can do that. Again, we'll be here from 12 until 3 p.m. If you're here, you can also buy a hat. You saw the blessing of our thinking caps last Sunday, and Penny Vick, our Director of Religious Exploration, is selling extra hats. They're blessed by the minister for your thoughts. And those hats cost just $15 and are being used to sponsor the creation of Black Lives Matter yard signs, which our religious exploration children are designing to put up in the local community. So if you're here to pour your water for water communion, you can also buy a hat between 12:30 and 2. Penny will be here, and I can also collect your money and give you hats even if you come between 2 and 3. That's all our announcements. So now, if you would like to take a breath and settle yourself, you can join in a spirit of worship. Our call to worship today is from the words of Hermann Hesse. Hermann Hesse writes in Siddhartha, "Have you also learned that secret from the river, that there is no such thing as time, that the river is everywhere at the same time, at the source and at the mouth, at the waterfall and at the ferry, at the current, in the ocean and in the mountains, everywhere, and that the present only exists for it, not the shadow of the past, nor the shadow of the future." So it is. Water is always and ever in our lives. From the waters of birthing which surround us before we take our first breath, we depend on water. We are made of it. It is the source of all. Timeless, formless, finding the edges of whatever container and clinging wetly. Water and life commingle. Water is life, blended thoroughly into the essence of ourselves. In time, this time, we are together by the essence of water. We are forever, existing timelessly in the great mystery. So let us join together in honoring that mystery as we worship. Today, come and let us worship. Please join me in our chalice lighting words. If you have a candle or a flame that you would like to light, you are welcome to do so at this time. We light our chalice flame as a symbol of the light that burns inside each of our souls, lighting our way to love. May we feed this flame in one another and care for it always. If you'd like to tell us where you are lighting your chalice, symbolically or truly, you may type "the flame is lit" and where you are joining us from in your chat bar. For all ages this morning is a traditional story called The Jar, told by our Director of Religious Exploration, Penny Vick.
Good morning. So this Sunday is Water Communion Sunday, which is completely different than any Water Communion Sunday we've had before. But I feel like River and Elizabeth is really trying their best to make us feel like we are in community and that we have each other during this time. The story that I'm going to read today is an old folk tale from India. And many refer to this story as the cracked jar or the cracked pot. And what this story reminds me of is how sometimes things that are broken, kind of like the last 6 months, everything seems broken, that beauty and unexpected gifts and things grow. So I'm just going to read this story to you. A water bearer in India had 2 large pots, each hung on each end of a pole which he carried across his neck. One of the pots had a crack in it, and while the other pot was perfect and always delivered a full portion of water at the end of the long walk from the stream to the master's house, the cracked pot arrived only half full. For a full 2 years this went on daily, with the bearer delivering only 1.5 pots full of water in his master's house. Of course, the perfect pot was proud of its accomplishments, but the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfections and miserable that it was able to only accomplish half of what it had been made to do. After 2 years of what it perceived to be a bitter failure, it spoke to the water bearer one day by the stream. "I'm ashamed of myself, and I want to apologize to you." "Why?" asked the bearer. "What are you ashamed of?" "I have been able for these past 2 years to deliver only half my load because this crack in my side causes water to leak out all the way back to your master's house. Because of my flaws, you have to do all of this work and you don't get full value of your efforts," the pot said. The water bearer felt sorry for the old cracked pot, and in his compassion he said, "As we return to the master's house, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path." Indeed, as they went up the hill, the old cracked pot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wild flowers on the side of the path. And this cheered it some, but at the end of the trail, it still felt bad because it had leaked out half of its load, and so it again apologized to the bearer for its failure. The bearer said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path, but not on the other pot's side? That's because I have always known about your flaw, and I took advantage of it. I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walked back from the stream, we've watered them. For 2 years, I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate my master's table. Without you being just the way you are, he would not have had this beautiful beauty of flowers to grace his house." I like the analogy of thinking about these past 6 months being us being a cracked pot. And without us knowing it, we have made unexpected gifts and have grown. We've spent more time together in our backyards with our families. We have went on walks. We have spent more time around the dinner table, around the breakfast table, and had more conversations. All those things are gifts that we wouldn't have had if we wouldn't have had this crack in us from the pandemic. So it's kind of looking on the bright side of things. This flaw that has happened to the world how we have created gifts and beauty and experiences, and we have grown within it.
So may it be. And we now come to that time in our service where we take a moment to greet one another and offer a blessing. You might say, peace be with you, or namaste, or type in our chat bar, bright blessings, or shalom. And blessed be. Our UU moment today is about our seventh principle. We often translate it in our children's blessings as protecting or caring for our planet Earth on which we live. But our seventh principle, as it was written, is earth-centered, but it asks us to honor and affirm respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. And the difference is important because our seventh principle calls us to understand ourselves as a part of that interdependent web, not to care for other things externally, but to care for ourselves and each other as inherently part of all of creation, part of all that is, all that can be, all that helps to create all the possibility of our future. Our seventh principle asks that we honor ourselves, that we caretake ourselves, no more and no less than everything around us. And so, as we speak our UU principles together today, though we use the children's version, which is what fits on your little Zoom screens, do know that what we are saying is not to care for the earth as something apart from us, but to care for the earth as part of ourselves, as the air we breathe, the water we drink, the fire that warms us, and the earth that grows all that we need to live. And will you now join with me in reading our 7 principles? As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person, practice justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, accept one another, and encourage our spiritual growth, support the freedom to search for what is true and right in life, ensure that all have a vote about matters which concern them, work for a peaceful, fair, and free world, and care for planet Earth, the home we share with all living things. Our centering words are written by Kathleen Jessie Rain. In my first sleep, I came to the river and looked down through the clear water. Only in dream, water so pure, laced and undulant. Lines of flow on its rocky bed, water of life streaming forever. A house was there beside the river, and I arrived an expected guest, about to explore old gardens and libraries. But a car was waiting to drive me away. One last look into that bright stream. Trout there were, and clear on the bottom, monster form of the great crayfish that crawls to the moon. On its rocky bed, living water in whirls and ripples, flowing unbended. There was the car to drive me away. We crossed the river of living water. I might not stay, but must return by the road too short to the waiting day. In my second dream, pure I was and free, by the rapid stream, my crystal house, the sky, the pure crystalline sky. Into the stream I flung a bottle of clear glass that twirled and tossed and spun in the water's race, flashing the morning sun. Down that swift river I saw it borne away, my empty crystal form, exultant, saw it caught into the current's spin, the flashing waters run. Our centering music is by Peter Mayer. While we hear this music, if you have joys and sorrows you hope to share, please feel free to type them in our chat bar, and they will be incorporated into our pastoral prayer.
In the ever-shifting waters of the river of this life, I was swimming, seeking comfort. I was wrestling ways to find a boulder I could cling to, a stone to hold me fast, where I let the fretful waters of this river round me pass. So I found an anchor, a blessed resting place, a trusty rock I called my Savior. There I would be safe from the river and its dangers, and I proclaim my rock divine, and I prayed to it protect me, and the rock replied, God is a river, not just a storm. God is a wild raging rapids and a slow meandering flow. God is a deep and narrow passage, a peaceful sandy shore. God is a river swimmer, so let go. till I clung to my rock tightly with conviction in my arms, never looking at the stream to keep my mind from thoughts of harm. But the river kept on coming, kept on tugging at my legs, till at last my fingers faltered and I was swept away. So I'm going with the flow now, these relentless twists and bends, acclimating to the motion and a sense of being led. And this river is like my body now, it carries me along through the ever-changing scenes and by the rocks that sing this song. God is a river, not just a stone. God is a wild, raging rapids and slow meandering flow. God is a deep and narrow passage, a peaceful sandy shore. God is a river, a swimmer, so let go. God is the river swimmer. So let go.
And so it is. May we join hearts and minds and spirits in prayer and meditation. This is the time that we set aside each Sunday to share in community the joys, the sorrows, the mixed blessings of our lives. Spirit of life and love, as we gather in community, sharing these milestones of our living. Hold us, enfold us in loving care. We give thanks for the good which exists in our lives, for friends and family, whether they have visited, are visiting, and those who have returned safely home. We offer prayers of strength and fortitude for teachers and students who have completed their first week of school, braving new and uncertain systems and holding it together. We hold in care and love Jeffrey Bowden, who says he's finally happy in his new life and over his divorce, for the blessings of community which hold us in the hard times and celebrate the good. We hold Tina Perdue in care. On Wednesday, she found out about the passing of a dear high school friend. And we hold in joy the announcement of a new addition to Tina's family coming in April. It is truly a time of highs and of lows. And for tenured faculty and staff being let go from IUP, We hold all in care those who may be losing employment and those who may feel stretched by the loss of support, who may feel saddened at friends from their own or other departments who will not be on campus again. And may we hold in gratitude not only Billy's spouse, but all those close friends and partners who have been keeping each and every one of us connected in this time. And of course, our thoughts go out to those in danger from all kinds of weather. For today, as we come together, there are fires in Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado. Many of us know people who are endangered by these natural disasters. Yes. But though they are natural disasters, some piece of what is happening also has to do with the failure of human systems. So we hold in our care all those endangered by fires in the West, all those who lost their homes recently to windstorms and tornadoes in the middle of America, all those nervous about the swirling waters, heavy rains and high winds of the hurricane season to the south. And we hold so deeply in care all those who are in difficult times, exacerbated by a lack of effective response from the systems that we depend upon to keep us safe, the social fabric of our society, which feels that it is fraying to its very limits right now. May we hold one another in care, knowing that we cannot save everything, and it is not our duty to try. But we can bind together the fabric of this community and hold one another in love here. We can reach out to save what we can and to hold one another in love through the midst of uncertainty. And so, as we continue to deal with what feels like a slow rolling and never ceasing time of difficulty, let us remember that one thing that we have always been good at is community, for we are a people of covenant. May we also take just a moment to honor the memory of September 11th and the thousands of people who lost their lives so suddenly and tragically that day. And may we hold gratitude for the blessings of our lives and the beauty of the earth, even in these times. For the ever-changing seasons and the flowing gift of life, may we still give thanks. In times of fragile hearts and tender sorrows, may we find comfort and strength, and may our hearts be healed, and may we be at peace. Amen, and blessed be. And now we come to that time in our service, which is the blending or the pouring of the waters. If you have a small amount of water to pour, that would be wonderful. If you don't happen to have brought water with you and you have a sink nearby, you might go and grab a little bit in a vessel right now, and also something to pour into. In this case, I have a small saucer. You might have a potted plant, or if you're outside, you could just pour directly onto the ground. For this annual ritual, we usually come together in a shared space. We bring our water. My water is the blended water of water communions past. For as many years as we have been celebrating this ritual here, bring a bit of water from each year, boiled and filtered, and we bring it to the next water communion so that it moves forward through the generations, reminding us of our historic connection all the way back to the first water communion ritual. This ritual came into being at a UU Women in Religions conference back in the 19 ways that we flow along our varied paths, sometimes physically apart, often in varied ways of understanding the divine, always honoring the uniqueness and diversity of every person, yet always coming together, single drops, joining, and forming buckets and mighty streams of justice, righteousness, and joy, and thriving growth when we are together, like the water which nourishes plants and people and flows to create mighty streams and oceans. So this first water, let us pour in memory of the ancestors who've brought us the water communion, of all that has come before, the many cycles of water which have flowed across mountains, which have risen in clouds over great continents ever shifting, which have been drunk by dinosaurs, which have nourished plants that nourished plants through the generations. This is the water of our heritage. Our second pouring of water is to honor the individual, the places we come from. As water flows from springs and glaciers and small streams to come and join together in mighty rivers flowing to the ocean, so too do we come from many places, myself from Colorado last year through Ohio to be with you at our last water communion. This water is a blending, a change in the congregation that comes every year as the individuals who make up this community grow and live through joy and grief. Know that all is sacred, that your feelings and your tears and your joyous laughter are welcome in this place. And let us pour one more time. This water is life. This third pouring of water, let it be for our future. For just as water flows out to the ocean and rises in clouds to start again, each year we find new paths. We run together toward justice, and we find renewal. We breathe, we are inspired, we come together in our church home to gather our spirits once more and rain upon the land as nourishment for all those projects, all those life goals, all of those ways of being which create an ever growing beloved community. May you and this water be blessed. And may you know it to be a part of the great water cycle, which connects us all as the web of life. Amen. At this time in our service, we gratefully receive the morning offering. Every month, our offering goes to support the work of this church as a worshiping community and also work in our greater community. This month, we are supporting an initiative called UU the Vote. It's a non-denomination, it is a denominational. It is a nonpartisan effort to support our democratic institutions and our democratic. UU the Vote works for voter registration, for voter education, and to alert people of the availability of mail-in ballots and other ways of being involved and participatory in our democratic process. So we thank you for your gift today to support the work within and beyond the walls of this church, to create a community and a nation in which we all can thrive.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live.
Here we are. Once more, we are contained in the virtual space of a very real community. Once more, we are held in love. Once more, we honor our community brought together, ever changing like the flow of water in a stream. Sometimes the flow moves quickly, sometimes slow and pondering. Our community is one which is ever different. I have been a Unitarian Universalist since I was 7 years old. As long as I can remember, I've attended a UU church. And as long as I can remember, I have celebrated water communion, this ceremony every year of coming back together, not with things that last a lifetime, but with a bit of water, just the kind you would put in a glass to sip on. And it's so meaningful for me. When I think about the water communion, I think about the first women who thought of this ceremony, who dreamed of what they could become as women ministers in a denomination where the ministry was overwhelmingly male. I think each year of all those who bring to our faith the hope of something which is not yet, but which we truly can be. That hope, that blessed hope, is what our faith calls us to do. Having that imagination that we are loving enough to expand the circle. It's who we are. There's a famous Universalist quote that I've used a few times here. When asked about the denomination and where they stood, Clarence W. Skinner said, "We do not stand, we move." We are a movement as a denomination. We are a people who are going places. And every time we find a mountaintop, a pinnacle of equality, we go, that's pretty good. Who can we see on the next mountaintop who still needs to be welcomed? We are a people who move. We are people who find justice, who want justice to roll down like waters. And we work to make it so, day by day. And I also think not only of the ancestors, but of all those around me. I've spoken before about times in my activism. Once upon a time, I was part of a protest hanging off of a bridge. And many of you have heard this story. What you may not know is that one of the people up on the bridge doing support right next to me was also a Unitarian Universalist. And the way we met was at a prior protest where we were arrested together blocking a coal train. Blocking a train in order to ask that companies, specifically Apple in this case, but that companies in general recognize that wind power, that solar power, like we have on the church here, are viable options. We do not need massive extractive industries to destroy the mountains in order to power our lives. We can do better. She and I met, knowing nothing about each other except that we both cared deeply for the environment and for our mountains in the Appalachian region. But once we were arrested together, we had to find something to do, sitting on a bench for 6 hours. And we found that we knew the same hymns. My life flows on in endless song. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. There's a river flowing in my soul. We knew the same songs because we were both states apart, raised Unitarian Universalist. Hello to all of our learners of all ages. Oh, Faye, I think you are not muted, just so you know. So the two of us together found community there. We found that we had a common heritage and a common present and a common hope for our future, all grown out of our faith, all flowing from the gift of values and principles that we held dear. And this is the gift of our gathered community. This is why we bring together the waters that bind us, that join us, that symbolize a community that moves, that forms movements, that believes that each and every one of us, separately or together, make up a community of folks who can be counted upon to make the world a better place. We are strong, we are capable. Each one of us singly is a mere drop of water. But together we can carve through rocks. Together we can grow fields of beauty. Together we make flowers bloom, creating beauty and nourishment. This is the promise of Unitarian Universalism. This is why we have a water communion. For water is life. We know from our indigenous neighbors who have been coming together as water protectors to guard it. Water is life. Ni wikoni. We knew it and we know it, and we move together to protect it. So it is, and so may it be in this strange and yet beautiful new year together. Blessed be. Our closing hymn is "We'll Build a Land." I invite you to sing along.
We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from mold, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come build the land, my people we seek. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
And now, will you join with me in extinguishing our chalice flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, or the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So it is. To those who came here seeking the holy, may the holy go with you and in you. To those who came here seeking to embrace life, may life return your affection. To those who came here seeking a better way, may you find that way and the patience and courage to take it step by step. And to those who came here seeking a better world, may we make it so by the loving work of our hands and our hearts. Go in peace and move lightly upon the world. Blessed be. If you are here from the Ligonier congregation, please do write Ligonier in the chat bar so that I can put you into your own chat room with your fellow congregants for our coffee hour. You are welcome to unmute yourself at this time as I sort you into your groups.
Thank you, Reverend Elizabeth. That was lovely.
Thank you. It's wonderful to see so many folks on our Zoom once again.
Yes, thank you. That was really lovely.
Thank you. It looks as if you're gonna have plenty of rain for your
Thank
water.
you.
Yes, we might have natural water. I've brought our altar out in front of the church back underneath the little porch roof. So if you want to run in with an umbrella, you can still do that, even if it starts raining on us.
It did pour here.
It'll be about 1/10 of an inch and it